Earthquakes. One of the most powerful things that our own Earth that we live on can simply throw at us. But what are earthquakes? Now, there are different types of earthquakes, but the most common one is when tectonic plates move and release a lot of energy all at once. That is the answer, or it could just be when my 5th grade teacher gets out of bed. Now, I really think we should understand tectonic plates first. They are one of the main reasons, if not the main reason, why earthquakes happen. Tectonic plates are simply plate-like structure of continental crust that sits far down into the earth that helps define the shape and structure of the earth. They're the reason why our earth looks like it does. That's why we have the Florida Panhandle. That is why North America looks like North America. It is why Africa looks like Africa. It is also why we have mountains. As they move, they are always moving and very slowly. They crush into each other sometimes, and when they crush into each other, they can push themselves up into the air, which cause mountains and hilly regions. Where these plates meet up, or fault lines, are where earthquakes happen the most, but they do happen everywhere, and they are constantly happening, but almost all the time, they're just so small that it is impossible for humans to feel. There are actually a few different things that can cause earthquakes. One of them, of course, being in which we already talked about, tectonic plate movement or seismic activity. Tectonic plates are always moving, but at some point, friction stops them and they stick together. But at some point, they get really, really tired of that. Imagine being stuck somewhere where you don't like being for a really long time. But at some point, they overcome that. They get the strength to overcome that. And they shift really suddenly and in relatively a far distance too, which cause a ripple-like effect of vibrations to stretch out in a circular motion all around the epicenter. Now, I won't really get into too much detail about the different types of ripples that can happen, as earthquakes as a general topic is more geographical than it is meteorological. It is a meteorological event, but it is generally more geographic than it is meteorological. I'll leave different types of sources and videos and all types of articles in the description if you want to dive deeper into the topic of earthquakes. A second way that earthquakes can happen is by a large impact, like a meteorite or a meteor or whatever. The best way to explain why this happens is to take your hand and place it on a surface like a table or the ground. Then take something like your fist or a really heavy book and slam it at a reasonable distance. If you pay attention, you'll feel the vibration of that slamming into that hand that you've placed on the surface. You'll even feel the vibrations go up your arm in which you used to slam whatever you used on the ground. Earthquakes can also be manually triggered by human activity by doing something like large-scale tunneling or fracking. These cause fissures in the ground that have a similar but not exactly the same effect that earthquakes have. These aren't really as strong and they're towards the surface, but if you pay attention when you're near it, you can tell. Volcanoes can also make earthquakes because as they're doing what they do, there's a lot of vibration and movement inside their chambers that have magma, other fluids, rocks, and all that stuff. That's constantly moving too, and it's vibrating, so that can cause little earthquakes to happen. Though they aren't the same as actual earthquakes, and you can only really feel them if you're at the volcano itself, but they're still earthquakes. I also do want to take a note that tectonic activity can also cause volcanoes to be active, so they can have some sort of like flip-flop effect where earthquakes cause volcanoes to happen and the volcanoes have an earthquake, another actual earthquake happens, and vice versa. Finally, natural phenomenons like cave-ins can cause smaller earthquakes following similar logic as volcanoes and impact earthquakes. Should you really be worried though? No. Earthquakes can be mass casualty events. They can be very dangerous. There is no admitting that. But your local governments are constantly doing everything they can to predict these and be able to warn you before they happen. They are also always revising and making new safety regulations so that when it comes to building new buildings, or when you're just out and about and something happens, your safety can be relatively insured. If you happen to get yourself caught in an earthquake, obviously do not panic. Try to get yourself into an open area away from tall structures if possible, or get under something that's stable, like a table or your bed if you can safely get in and out with ease. Do not stand or sit in a doorway that has been proven to be ineffective in actually protecting you. If you are towards the ocean, you really need to get to higher ground as soon as it's deemed safe, as earthquakes are directly responsible for most tsunamis that happen, and tsunamis can be, if not worse, than earthquakes in terms of destruction levels. In the event that you are Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, I think you better get your ass on that helicopter and start looking and to find a boat so you can ride out the tsunami. I'd like to thank you for watching this video. Thank you so much. And if I made a mistake or I missed something in this video, please let me know in the comments so that I can learn from that and use it to apply it later on. If you like this video, please subscribe and even leave a like on the video for future content like this. I will see you guys in the next one.